Right, I'm using Great Plains version 11. It's also called GP 2010 today to show you the collection management functionality. Now, depending on which version of GP you are currently using, the look and feel of the screens may be slightly different, but the majority of the functionality are pretty much the same. So, as I said, there is this one main screen, which is a key screen in collection management module that allows you to do pretty much all the key tasks, within the one central place very easily and quickly. So this screen is called Collection Mans. And you can access that screen via the Sales module little home page. In the Transactions section, there is this Collection Mans window. Now here is the screen. As you can see, on this screen, I've actually got one data showing there with looks like all the contact, not looks like, it's actually showing us all the contact information that you need to know while you are doing the collection process. Who do you need to speak to? Where the customer is located, and you don't need to go into the data maintenance window, but you can basically access this information either already displayed on this window or by this one click of button. Then you get any other address or contact related information readily on hand. So that's the contact information, and also in this part of the window, it gives you a summarized form of how this customer has been performing in a very summarized form. Things like when was the last payment made, right? This field here, last payments made on the 29th of April 2017. Now, I have to explain that I'm using the standard Great Plains sample company, and this sample company is all the sample data and the transactions are basically based on a year that's 2017, which is a bit further down the track. But that's why this last payment date is showing in April 2017. And also we can see the year-to-date sales information against a particular data, which is just the next line down there. And also unposted sales information, which are any invoices that's been entered, let's say saved in a batch that's still unposted, and also unposted cash receipts. So in a glance, that should give you a fairly good picture, overall picture about how this particular data is in terms of how they're performing, how much they're buying from us, and what's the payment behavior. Now let's move on to the top right-hand corner there. Basically, this little window shows you by aging, the breakdowns of what are the outstanding amounts in each of the aging period. And you can even drill down to, for example, if we have a particular concern over a very long outstanding invoice. So we go to the very last aging bucket and see there is over $19,000 outstanding. Field. Now this screen looks quite similar with another screen I think we quite often use is called Data Transaction Inquiry screen. In there you can also see a list of transactions, but the difference here is this screen only displays documents that within a particular aging period that you just drew from the previous collection name window. We can also see whether or not there are any applied information or what was the original document look like. For example, if I bring up this document, I just drew down from this document number field. That gives me a detailed view of a particular invoice that's of concern. So if we need to discuss with the client about a particular document, so it's very handy for us to be able to very quickly bring up the details, and we'll be able to tell what was the invoice all about and any other detailed information that's already recorded against this invoice. So that's a quick review over against the particular aging bucket that we can bring up quickly. While if you have the customer that's already, so that features information. Now, and there are also just below the aging information area, there are some related information about who's actually looking after the customer and what particular territory, sales territory they belong to. Those information sometimes comes pretty handy as well. And in the total due field here, if you click down there, that will give you every single invoice that's made up of what's total outstanding from this customer. Again, that's probably something very handy to have if you need to have a overall picture about where this customer is in terms of what's outstanding, and therefore you can start talking about how do we start collecting some payments back. Okay, so now that let's move on to the bottom half of that window. Now this is a very important window if we are in constant communication or even regular communication with a customer. Each time when we in contact with the customer in relation to collection process, there are some information that's of critical importance for us to record, and therefore, if we need to follow it on or even pass on to other colleagues to continue with the collection process, and all information are recorded. That's a very important critical feature of collection management. As we can see, there are a number of recorded notes here already, and if we interested in a particular past records, we can highlight a particular notes and drill down from this field called notes/comment. And in there, we can see at the detail level what's been done, each action against that particular customer in terms of data collection processes recorded in this screen. On the screen you can see when the action is taken and by which user and who was the contact person over at the customer side, and whether or not this is of a priority. So if I go and pick a particular notes, that probably will show us a little bit more information regarding a particular invoice, then this is then we can also do that. For example, I have a note that's recorded on, according to this record, it's back a few years now, if we are still in 2017. The action date here I can see is back to 2012, which is this year, and happened to be just 2 days back. On this screen here, this part here, we can see who we contact and what was discussed about and which are the invoices that's of particular concern in that particular communication, and what was the amount that's involved, what was the invoice number. Now, all of this, it doesn't require your quick typing skills and to record all of this. I'm going to show you how you can quickly get notes like that recorded in the system, and while you're maybe still talking over the phone with the customer. So if I were to start a new note, then that's what we'll need to do. We can go to this first button on the top right-hand corner, where we call it menu bar area. Click on the New Notes button. Here, you get a collection management notes window open up. Then we can assign various actions against this particular note. For example, if you were talking over the phone with Bob right now, and he's promised something, all right, okay, since, the evidence is so obvious, we have some very old invoice with large amount outstanding. I'm happy to pay invoice 123 or XYZ. So while you're talking, what you can do then is you can go into the Select Invoice button, which is a little button next to the Select Invoices field. Here we can bring up all the outstanding invoices. As you can see, the invoices list on this collection management transaction note selection window or have a current due amount displayed. Now, depending on whether we accept the partial payments against the invoice, the current amount field may or may not be the same as the original amount. But as long as there are outstanding amounts against the invoice will be displayed in the screen for you to take action against. So if we are going to find some relatively old invoice, let's see, and we can sort in the screen by due date. That's a very handy feature to have. And once we've done that, click on the display button. Therefore, the oldest invoice, it's displaying at the very top part of the screen. Now, if you notice, there is a little information icon there next to an item, which means there are already notes against this invoice. So if you were trying to tick this invoice, you'll get prompt messages saying this document already exists on a previous. Save the document. Do you wish to transfer the document to this note? Now, depending on the situation, we may or may not want to do that. Let's say we want to. So we're going to include in this invoice we previously talked about, and maybe Bob somehow promised he was going to pay it a couple of weeks ago, but we still haven't received the payment. So you can do it this way by including a previously discussed document into your current notes. And we can also including new invoices that we haven't touched on previously, but currently now it's also due and require payments. So the way to do that is select the invoice by put a tick against this little box here, and if there are more, you just do go through the list and pick another invoice. Let's say this 2 invoices are quite enough now. If we get payment from Bob, we're pretty happy. So that's it. So what we'll do, just click on the button up there, up on the top corner saying select. So this will allow us to select the invoices that's ticked or you've discussed with Bob that he agreed going to do something about into the notes you're going to make. So here we go. So we get some brief information about the 2 documents we just selected straight into the notes window. And then what you can do is you can start typing the rest of what's agreed and what's promised. So let's say Bob promise to pay the above invoices tomorrow, probably. Okay, and then what we'll do, what we can also do is that we can, the system will automatically recording the action date. By default, this action date is today's date. Now, depending on the action ID setup, I'm going to briefly show you how this can be tied in to some interesting features that are not interesting, very handy functions that GP can provide. Is when we set up the so-called action item, we can say, how many days after the action's been taken, if nothing happens, if the action is not completed, then we need to do follow-up. Okay, so in that case, this promise to pay, by standard, we say we're going to follow up this action in 5 days' time if it's still outstanding. So this is why, by default, if the contacting day today is, if you look at my screen here, system date down the bottom here, it says 12th of April 2017. Then the action date, by default, the system calculated to put another 5 days onto it because that comes by default from the action setup I showed you before. Then this task will show up in your reminders list, ask you to double check whether or not we can close this action. If not, then you're going to make another call or somehow contact Bob and have another chat. Okay, so let's say this is all we did on today's action over a phone call. So we can save it now. And once that's saved, the newest notes is showing at the top of the list in this lower part of the collection name window. So allow easy view over what's the most recent action that's been taken against this particular data in terms of collection. And if in 2 days' time that is finished, that's completed, then you can check this little, you can go back to the notes screen and you can say that's completed. And if there is still outstanding, say you made another call to Bob and he said, well, unfortunately I wasn't well the last 2 days, that's why the payment is not processed. Then you can start recording again, saying, well, Bob is not available or unwell and it's going to pay today, so you can type another line here. Bob was ill last 2 days. Will make payment today. Now, that's an update of an existing note. What the system will do, the minute you save this note, we can see there is a revision number here. currently there was revision 1. That means that was the first note we've taken. Now, since we updated it, if we click on the Save button on this note, and next time when we go back in again, the revision shows as a 2. So you keep track on every single time, depending on is it brand new actions, brand new note, or is there some existing note? A few days ago we had a chat and that's what you said, and then 3 days later I followed up, that's what you said, and where's the pen? This kind of conversation. Then that can be very useful. So you don't need to have a very good memory, and sometimes we're so busy during the day and we've been talking to so many people. There are occasions you just can't totally recall what was said during the last conversation and when that was done. Now with this notes screen here, not only we can see the revision number, which means how many times we've been talk about the same thing over and over again, and you can go back in by click on this little blue expansion button against the revision number, and you can scan through. It will give you the revision date and the time by the second, the hour, the minute, the second. So it's very accurate recording what and when, what happened and when that was taking place. So you don't need to scratch in your head and going through your other piece of paper somewhere. Everything is here. And also it's important that for another person to follow the same thing up, should you be unavailable for any reason. So this is the note functionality, which is a very handy and key functionality of this collection management module. Now let's move on the query building feature, which is the third feature we're going to cover today. Now, as we doing collection process, more often than not, we do have a particular target group of customers that we would really like to deal with. For example, if anyone has long outstanding invoices, then we would be interested in them. And even we can narrow it down, say, if someone has an invoice overdue by 2 months, that's 60 days. And if the outstanding amount is over a particular amount, then we are interested. Or we can say, as long as you have any amounts outstanding in the 60 days and over bucket, we want to know, and we're going to do something about it. So all of those particular target collection, customer group, we can quickly filter them out from your Great Plains data module by running a quick query. Now, you can easily and quickly go to the query screen by click on this query button, which is the second button on the menu bar of the main collection management window. So let's go to take a look. What can we do? Now, when building a query, normally you'd have a particular criteria in mind, depending on what you'd like to focus on, and also depending on your organization's operational requirement or process rules in place. You might want to just target a particular group of customer or particular range of customer. So this screen allows you to quickly filter out those customers that you would like to focus on, as part of the collection process. Now, let's say you are particularly interested in a particular class of customers in your system. You can do that by selecting, while you're on the customer tag in the collection management view query window, you can select a range of clusters, if that's how you if this is how you would like to process. Otherwise, you can just leave the customer tag blank without putting in any filtering parameters. The parameters available for you to use are data ID, data name, data class, and even the salesperson or a particular sales territory. So those are, you can basically use or utilize those features or based on your particular requirement. And the next tab is the customer information. So if we can assign a particular credit manager against a group of customers, and all of those are within the collection management setup area, which we're not going to go through details today, but I just let you know that those things can be set up. If you want to assign a particular group of customer for a particular collector to be responsible for, and we can do that easily. So you can then run queries just for a particular collector. Right? For example, if you personally, responsible for a number of customers, then you can assign yourself to be the credit manager against those customers. And then later on, you can just run queries saying, I just want to know my customers. Therefore, you can bring up credit manager as a filter, and then you can go through to see, who this particular credit manager you want to, get their customers' information for. So that's another quick and easy way to, bring out the particular group of customer that's of your particular interest. And also other things can be used, contact method. So if, there are particular customer groups saying we only want to hear from you by ringing us. Maybe others say, we would prefer email communication. So those can also be set up against any customers in the collection management module. So let's say we're not going to filtering anything by customer information. Then we can go into balance tab. Now here we have a couple of choices. We can say we are, we want to filtering the customer base by balance due, or we want to only know them if they're greater than credit limit. That's the balance. Right? So that's, again, you can use this to cater for your situation. Now the next tab here is the period date. Now quite often when we're doing data collections, we are interested in how long a particular invoice or number of invoice that's overdue. We don't chase too hard if that's not overdue yet. So make sure when we're talking to a particular group of customers, what we're going to type it on, just for some other heavily overdue invoices. So then we can use the aging period to filter a group of customer that's of particular interest to us. And also we can use the modes tag to start filtering depending on what action has been taken against. For example, if we want to just get a list of customers that they've been promised to pay, then we can say we want to know anyone that has promised us in the past to say they're going to pay, but still they haven't done so. So let's quickly run a query and get a group of invoices out that way, so we can start talking to them. Okay, so that's I think that's that. There are other types, action type and levels, which that's more of a setup, whether or not your system is set up to allow you to do that. But let's just quickly build a query against, let's say we are particularly interested, based on your aging setup, let's say, any invoice that's overdue by 2 months. We want to know those customers. We want to know what those invoices are, because we're going to start contacting them and asking them the reason why that's still outstanding and when they can start doing payments against us. So if I were going to set up one, say, 61 days overdue, then we put a description, say, 61 days overdue. And what we can simply do is come in here. We're going to use the aging period based on your system setup. So this sample database, the aging buckets are defined in this 4 different aging periods. So obviously I'm interested in this group of customer. They have an invoice outstanding 61 days and over. So once I put that parameter in, I go insert. So that's one of the filtering criteria when I are going to filtering customer based on the query requirement. And perhaps we also want to know whether or not they have anything over, I don't know, $500, and you're unlimited on that, no? So let's say that's what we want to know particularly today. So then we put that in. After you put in your selection criteria and insert them into the restriction field, then what we can do is just click on the query button. Now, be aware, this query function, any collector or any user has been assigned as a collector can use. Now, each time a query is run for any particular user will replace an existing query or old query that you've run in the past. So this is what this warning prompt is trying to tell you, because the system immediately knows in the past you've saved the query, and if you do another query now, the old query will be replaced by the current query. So if you don't want to replace, obviously you can click on the no button, but we normally want to see most up-to-date information. So even though I've run this similar query a few days ago, now maybe payment's already made, we don't want to ring up customer again saying, how about this invoice? And they will turn around and say, well, haven't you received the payment yet? So we don't want to waste our time as well as other person's time that way. So it's most of the time it's a good idea to replace the query you had in the past, or even just a few days ago. But bearing in mind that each user, each collector can keep their own queries. All you're replacing is your query against your GP login or against your collectors setup. So let's say we're going to replace what's already there, and now the system will say, fine, go ahead. Now this is how quick that query has been run. It also gives you a summarized information about how many records has found. So the system has searched through 103 records and found 86 that meets the query criteria we just put in, which is, outstanding period being over 61 days and outstanding amount being over $500. And the total balance of this query is over $1 million, or close to $2 million. That's what it says, 1.9 million, something like that. And therefore, once the query is finished building, we will automatically return back to the collection names window. Now in this collection names window, if you do a lookup against the data ID, when this radio button is selected against query rather than all, then all you will see here are the 86 records that was showing you before in the summarized form, not every single data that's set up in your receivables module. So that way allows us to focus on who we really want to work with in this particular process. So that's very nice feature to allow us to work more efficiently. And also we can print a report and about this targeted group of customers, and you can sort the report either by data ID or by customer name or total due balance or balance overdue. Let's say we're interested in who owes us most first. So we're going to print the report and let's send this query list to the screen for now. Let's take a quick look at this report. So this report gives us a list of that customers that has invoices or overdue amount over $500 and overdue period in over roughly 2 months, and sort by the overdue balance amount. So we can see the ID, we can see the name and the contact person, the phone number. So if you get a printout of this, we can quickly start work out a plan of that action to see who you're going to ring, what is the phone number, and straight away whether or not they have large amount outstanding. Okay, so that's quite a handy report to have on hand before you start contacting them in whatever order you prefer. So that's that. And also with each targeted customers, we can go through the list and bring them up, and again, all of those summarize the information at a glance is all on hand, ready, displayed in the screen for you. And you can start making notes, and that's how we did before. And if a particular data is interested in a particular invoice that you mentioned, that's saying, oh, I've never received the invoice, that's why we haven't paid. So that sounds like a reasonable reason. That's resending the invoice, so they know what this invoice is all about and what is the amount outstanding. So the way to do that is we will go into a particular area, and we first of all can see what the invoice is all about and telling them, this is what we're talking about. This are the invoice details. Now we still haven't received payment against. And what we can do is click on this print button, and we will say we want print this invoice. And all you need to do is going through the list and select if there are more than one invoice. Then you select. You can select multiple invoices at the same time to go through the printing process. And once you've done that, all you need to do is, if they agree that they're going to they're happy to receive your invoice by email or even statements, then you can hit the email button there. Now I have one particular customer. I've set up all the email details, which I'm going to use as an example. So I'm going to go back to get that particular customer up, which is Aaron Fitz, which is Mr. Bob Fitz. We used as an example before. So if we would do the same thing against this customer, then we can go in and say, well, now we talk about this invoice, and you said you haven't received, and you also don't know about this invoice. Let's resend it to you. Okay, you just give that invoice a click and go OK. And now if you have Adobe Writer installed, then you should be able to send the invoice in a PDF form, which is nice and will keep all the invoice layout format in place for you to send it over. And also at the same time, you can send this customer their statements as well, if you wish. They say, well, apart from these two invoices, there are other things. maybe you want to consider to do something with that. So let's say we're going to do both. And just one click a button on the email button here. And we can probably take the invoice on the screen as well as it should send out by email. So that's what the invoice look like. Well, depending on your modified invoice layout, it will look exactly like what you normally would send out to the customer. And my email system having a little bit of a delay today, so we can go and take a look. Just see where it's gone. Looks like the just arrived. That's one of them. I'm going to do a few of them. So here is the invoice. Now my Adobe, for some reason, is playing up a little bit. But if I do have Adobe license installed, this will be in PDF form, right? So you can preview. That's basically said that's not easy to read. But as I said, if Adobe works, then that should give you exactly the invoice we saw before on the screen. And also statements. Statements should be shown on the screen. And also you get an alert telling you, whether the email's been sent through successfully. Now I did have a working version of Adobe this morning, as I said. It's something playing up, and I can show you those documents which I sent earlier, this while testing it. So that's the confirmation of email has gone through. It says the following collection management document successfully created and emailed. So you know that's gone through, and also the collection information. Here I've done collection letter. As you said, it just not long before we start the webinar, I did testing that. Right. And I know my computer had a little bit of problem. It's been up and down a little bit, but normally that's how things should go up and how things should look. And there is even I'm trying to find. That's the statement that's sent out as well this morning. So normally, depending on what your statement looks like, that will just go. Okay, so that's how we can print invoices and statements and email them right through if that's what the preferred communication method agreed with the client beforehand. So once this is set up, then it's just a flow through very quickly and easily like that. You don't really need to go and find, how do I print the invoice out, scan it, and then you type another email message and send it through. So that saves you a lot of time. So that's the email feature and printing report by query. Now, once we've done this, and quite often we want to know, inquire about the status of this customer. Right? And normally over the phone or before you ring them, you want to get a little bit more detailed information about where things are at with this customer. This status button at the top of the menu bar allows you to bring up any customer that's of interest to you at the moment to see again their aging information, and also the last invoice date, when was the last that they bought anything from us, and when was the last payment date, and when was the last statement sending out. and also year-to-date information. There's an important historical information and live-to-date information. So it gives us a very quick snapshot about how this customer performs so far. And also there are a number of other inquiry windows within rate plans that we can get some information out from, which is under inquiry. And collection summary. Now again, depending on your setup, if we are looking at a query, summarize the results, and we can run this, right? Remember this 1.9 mil that was from that query we did before. So that's another summarized view over a most recent query run that gives you another good summarized snapshot about everything that overdue within the last 60 days. If the outstanding amounts over $500, what's the overall picture of it? The overdue total balance overdue amount within this 61 days and over bucket says that's 1.8. But currently, and the 30 days and 60 days, buckets looks like pretty healthy. The current one, it's over 120K. So our target is this. So that gives you another summarized form of seeing, your particular target group, where the overall what the outstanding information invoice and overall picture is like. So this is a good inquiry screen that apart from the collection management that we can also use. And also, as an organization, we might want to know overall in terms of the sales, in terms of how quickly the cash flows back. So you can define a particular period of interest and put in the number of days that you are interested in. For example, if I put in the last year or so, then as a date range, if I do a calculation, then it gives us a overall information about total sales outstanding, and also the average sales per day. If the data is accurate, we should be able to bring up this kind of information very quickly as well. But as I mentioned, this is a Great Plains sample database. Sometimes we do testing and also all sorts of back-end stuff. The data doesn't look totally that logical, but in your database you should see the meaningful data from that screen. Now, so let's go back to collection man's window again. And we can allow real-time updating information to display on this collection man's window. And if you click on the read display, if just 3 minutes ago a payment's been applied against the invoice, then all the information on the screen, especially outstanding invoices, amounts information, gets updated as other personnel within the organization keep on processing data. So that really gives you a most up-to-date snapshot of any customer that's within the target group that you are doing collection against. There are several drill down features on that window. Allows you to go deeper to see more detailed information. For example, if, while we're talking, a customer was saying, we've just made such and such payment, but unfortunately it's not posted yet. So in the system, the invoice current outstanding amounts are still not changed. But we can actually bring those information up and just to double check, whether those payments are in fact received already by your organization. So as we can see here, this particular customer has paid some payment, which we are kind of in the process of entering them into the system. As we can see, the origin of those 3 payments are still says work. So we know, okay, there are payments already received, but we're just in the process of, in the system, process them. So as soon as that process is done, then once those cash receipts are posted, then, if you click on the redisplay button, the aging information will change again. And also, if they have unposted invoices, again, it gives you another quick look on, what are the outstanding invoices that's still in the process. But we're going to post it very soon, since they're already in the system. So, in summary, this collection mains window really is the most important window within the collection management module. And in most cases, when you're doing collection process, you really need to just, stay with this window, and you can perform almost all the, important tasks or processes that, it's in relation to cash collecting or debt collecting process. So it really, provides you the efficiency and the easiness in terms of, how to perform all those collection-related tasks.